Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and turn on notifications so that you will receive alerts when there are new episodes. Go get it.
That's what I tell them. I've been grinding for so long, I wake up and chase my goals. I go out and I go get it. Hot or cold, that's all I know. I don't succeed, then I don't breathe. Success, what does it mean? If I conquer all my goals, then I'm living out my dream. Dig deep, go out and get it. Success Chronicles. Compete until it's finished. Success Chronicles. Go take care of your business. Success Chronicles. It's deeper than just winning. Success Chronicles.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Chip Baker coming to you with another episode of the Success Chronicles. And today we have Jason and Nikki Ezekiel with us. I'm sorry. And just going to do a relationship topic today. And so, great couple doing some amazing things to make a positive difference coming to us from Maryland. I'm so thankful to have them on this episode of the Success Chronicles. So thank you guys so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us on.
All right. Well, if you don't mind, individually telling us, where you guys are from and what it was like for you growing up.
Okay.
My name is Jason, and I grew up in PG County. I had 6 brothers and a single family household.
Mm-hmm.
I had a stepfather there, but he was kind of abusive. So my mother got away from him when I was like, I think 9 years old. But just growing up in my environment, I mean, it was like a rough kind of environment. Everybody was selling drugs, people getting killed, and different things like that. I experienced that all the way up till I was in my 20s, maybe, in my 20s. And I had met my wife. I was having a basketball game. It was in the 7th grade, and my middle school was playing against her middle school. And we were having a game there, and one of her girlfriends she wanted to meet me. So one of her girlfriends that I knew, and she knew she kind of hooked us up back there.
Okay.
So it was I met her in the 7th grade.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. And y'all are like 21 now, 22.
Wow. Yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
It's only been a couple years ago, right? What about you, Nikki?
I grew up in PG County as well.
Okay.
Up until maybe about, I want to say 3rd grade. Yeah, about 3rd grade. I was in D.C. Then I was at my grandma's. We would go to school from here. So my mom and dad, we originally lived in D.C. and then they moved in PG County. And then when I was about in 6th grade, they got a divorce.
Mm-hmm.
And me being the oldest and my 2 younger sisters stayed with my dad. So my dad raised us. I'm one of those, those women that got raised by a man.
Yeah.
And so we went to school. It was kind of challenging because, at the age of 12, I've now become a mom, a big sister, run the household. And so, of course, at that age, I clearly don't have the emotional, mental strength to be able to handle that type of impact. And so it played a huge part on my identity and being able to, have value myself. I went through a lot of abandonment and people pleasing issues growing up, which I have that in my book that I wrote. And so going through high school and going through the elementary school, I got bullied. Going through high school, it was a lot of fighting because I was a pretty girl and all of the guys liked me and then all of the girls wanted to fight me. So, it was kind of rough emotionally for me growing up. And like he said, I think that's the following question: how did we meet? And so, like he said, we met in the 7th grade. But what was really peculiar about us meeting is that we met maybe like 4 times before we actually hooked up in the 12th grade and really started dating. And so, like, we met in the 7th grade. We dated for about 3 months. And the way that we met was one of my girlfriends introduced me to him. So then we met again, probably, I think I want to say middle school. And one of my girlfriends was dating his cousin. And she was like, oh, I got somebody, I want you to meet their cousin. And so I'm like, okay, cool. So I get introduced, and it's him.
You're like, oh,
Wow.
hey.
And then it happened again that way. Like one of my other girlfriends was dating his best friend. And she was like, I want you to meet my boyfriend's best friend. And I'm like, okay. And then it's him again. And then the last time we met, me, my sister, and my girlfriends, we was at a go-go. We were seeing a band. And his best friend was dancing with my sister. And his best friend was like, I want you to meet my boy, my best friend. And I'm like, okay, cool. I go over there and I look, and I just look at him. Both of us just kind of look at each other. I was like, you again?
we met all those times. Like we never really stayed connected. It was like we were just friends, and then we'd do our own thing. But I guess when we'd be out, the people would be trying to. We'd be out, and somebody would be like, I know this girl I want you to meet, and then it'd always be. We was always just bumping into each other just like that.
So finally, we just made the decision to date, and the rest is history.
That was like 12th grade.
So y'all were just destined to be together. Everybody thought.
Listen, you know, we just knew that. I think that's what kept us together over years, because you know, a young marriage and you know, coming together at age 19 and then being married and you know. And staying together, like those are life phases. And so and so that was one of the things that we just kind of knew. We was like, okay, even when we were saying we don't want to be together, we was, you know, there was that inkling of, well, I mean, like it had to be destiny where we met. Like God must have wanted us together.
God wanted us to be together.
Yeah.
Really, because he know what she wanted. I guess he knew both our hearts, and he wanted us to change the generation in our family and to grow up with a good family. And he wanted us to see that our family know that we could have a good family. So that's how I think it worked out like that.
Man, you know, I'm glad you said that, because that's one thing I was going to mention too. A lot of times when we go through things in our lives, you know, the way we react and respond to things, kind of like you said, you know, Nikki, you know, is based on our prior experiences. You know, and it's awesome when we can take those rough things or tough times in our life and use those and say, hey, we ain't going back to that.
Yeah.
Like we ain't doing that no more. You know, and just like you said, Jason, man, it changed a generational thing. So now, you know, they look, man, well, yeah, I can be in a relationship too. You know, we can have a family too. Yeah, it's possible. So I think it's awesome. So how long have you guys been together?
We've been married 24 years and we've been together 29 years.
Man, that's awesome. That's good stuff right there.
Yeah, we have two daughters. One is 28 and one is 22.
She is not 28.
27.
She will cut you for that.
27. No, I'm sorry, 27. She'll be 28 in August.
Yeah.
So she graduated her master's. She's a midwife now. My youngest daughter, she's getting married in November. So
she's an estheticianist.
I think it just makes a big difference when you have a two-parent household and your kids can see you growing up like that. And I think it changes things when there's a family. I think God wants to see family. Now my daughter they know how to go up and have a family. They don't have to like fend for themselves like we did. Like they had somebody they could come to as growing up that can give them guidance through life.
Without a doubt.
I think it made a big difference.
Well, speaking of relationships, what are 3 important things you think it takes to have a successful relationship?
You know, we was pondering on that question. We was like, and you know, everybody outlook is different, and so I think I know the first thing that we agreed on is a relationship with God. Like,
oh yeah,
God sent it. Because we got married early. And we didn't have God when God was around, but we wasn't going to church. We wasn't serving God. And our relationship was rocky. Even though we loved each other, we argued all the time. And it wasn't until we both were seeking God that we got the love from Him and our relationship got to smooth out. I was like, if anybody can be married without God in the center of it, I don't know how they do it. I know we couldn't do it.
Hey, how about you said Jason, you said God was around.
Yeah,
But
he was around, but
yeah,
I wasn't raised in the church. I mean, where I grew up at, nobody really spoke about God. So it was like I was living a life without God. So I was living in darkness.
yeah.
So it wasn't later on until after I got married that when I was down and things was so much confusion on that I was introduced to God. And so I was introduced to God at church. And I finally began to seek God. And that's when things started to happen. Like, you was in the dark, but now you see the light.
Yeah, come on.
I grew up
Like
in
I
church.
said, church.
Yeah.
He wasn't churched. I grew up in church.
Yeah.
I just kind of like, as you are a young adult, you think you can do everything on your own. You can be independent. You don't need nobody to tell you nothing.
You grown. You grown now.
Yes, I was grown. You hear me? And so by the time we got, I think he was like 22. I got my first apartment. We moved together. We weren't married at that time, but we did. Then we got married, and that was after we had our first daughter. And it was just like our life was just crazy. And my girlfriend introduced me to church. And so she was like, come on, go to church. I was like, well, yeah, I need church because Jesus need to fix this. Like, he need to fix this. And so, I get to church. So, you get to church, and then they just talk about, sinning. And,
Oh, yeah. You like, hey, like it's just talking right to you, right?
So I come home, I tell him, I was like, well, we got to get married because, we can't keep having sex without being married.
You can't be shacking up.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
He's like, what? We live together. We got a kid. Like, what are you talking about? And I was like, yeah, we're going to have to get married. We have to do something. And so, eventually we did get married. And so, from there, it still was. I remember one time he was like, well, listen, you married me like this. Just because you going to church and you got Jesus, that don't mean I have to.
Oh, man. He was trying to rationalize it.
Oh, my God. It was rough, but it was good because, like, that was the time where God was really working on me and dealing with me and causing me to cultivate a relationship with him and not require my husband to be everything to me. And so I didn't understand that at the time, but I do now. And that's why we both said it's so imperative to have that relationship with God first, because when you come into a relationship, if you don't have that foundation of your relationship with God, you try to get the other person to be to you what only God can be to you. And that's unfair because they don't have the ability to do that. And so if you don't have that relationship with God, you're going to try to change the other person. You're going to nitpick everything. You're going to criticize everything because you're trying to get them to fulfill insecurities and things in you that they ain't supposed to do in the first place.
Hey, I'm going to go church on you, Nikki. Hey, it's so true. Like what you said, like I totally believe in that. And, I didn't tell you guys, I'm raised in the church as well. My mother and my grandmother were ministers of music in our church. So if the church was open, we was in that thing,
Yes,
That's good. That's good.
And so same. You get older, oh, I'm grown, I ain't got to go to church, you learn that, hey, I got to have God in my life. You had your first-hand experience. And so true about what you said as far as, being in a relationship. And, if you don't have that firm foundation, then everything's going to be rocky because you're looking at other things as opposed to looking within to be the best version of yourself that you can be. And when you have two people that come together that's doing that, through God, man, you come together, woo-wee.
Yeah, that's a blessing right there.
When 29 years.
Yeah.
Come on.
It's alignment, man. It's a beautiful alignment because I always tell people, love goes like this and then like this.
Yeah.
It filters down. Like you can't. It's impossible in the human body to love somebody unconditionally because you don't have the ability to do it without being able to receive God's love first. Because love comes from God. It doesn't come from us. Because we only know how to love based upon our own earthly, worldly experiences. And so, that was our first, like, I know that was a long thing, but that was our first thing.
Hey, that was a good long one,
Having a relationship with God. That's imperative.
Okay.
Then the second one we had was, what was the second one? Oh, he said honesty, and I said friendship.
Okay.
For the second one. But then I put it together, and I was like, well, honesty produces friendship. Because when you're in a relationship, and because the key thing I learned is that you have to like the person that you're with. Like we are, I pondered with the friendship and the love, right? Because people think that when you get in a relationship, the first thing that's supposed to come is love. But in my experience, I believe the first thing that should come is friendship. Because when you're creating a friendship, you don't have expectations. You don't have pre-perimeters. It's like you just be with the person with who they are, and then you can make a substantial assessment of if this is a person that you want to be with and spend your life with, without any like strings attached. Because if you saying that you love a person first, by the time you get to the friendship point, you all jacked up in your emotions. Like you don't know you can't walk away in a healthy way because you haven't developed that friendship. You develop like a loyalty first. And so that's why I think friendship is so important first. And out of friendship, you get to see if the person's honest. You get to see the person's character. You get to see their likes and their dislikes. Like you get to see all of that without the expectation of, oh, I got to be this way so they can like me.
I love the way you explain that, because it's so true. Like coming from an athletic perspective, like reps make you better. You know what I'm saying? And the more you get to study and learn the person, just like you said, and be around the person, and you guys grow together, like, you learn those things. Oh yeah, this throws her off. He don't like this, this makes her happy. And that when the other person takes the time to learn that person,
yeah,
I think that's what makes it a really a beautiful thing, because you see that they're putting in the effort.
yes,
You see that they're putting in the effort. Well, so I got to match that effort, like as a competitor, like, man, she ain't gonna outlove me. I got to love that girl too.
I'm saying being friends first, because when you come first, when you trying to get with somebody, you're not putting, you come as a facade. You when you come,
they don't see the real version.
No, you don't see the real version. You don't see the real version. All the stuff that they've been through. I want you to see the good side.
Yeah.
That's why I said, she's right when you say about the friends. Then you can learn your friend before you try to jump into a relationship.
Yeah. It's so funny. We were talking about this the other day at the dinner table. We was out eating, and he said to me, he was like, you didn't show me the abandonment part of you. You didn't show me the rejection part of you. And I was like, well, you're right, I didn't.
Hey, it's funny. I'm gonna tell a story about me and my wife, right? So, like, my wife, we met and we were friends in high school. We didn't date, and later we ended up dating, linking up, and we've been married for 20 years now.
Okay.
But like when we were first dating, right? And I knew who she was because we're from the same area, went to school together, and good friend. We were good friends, and we were at this, I don't know, this swap meet, whatever, and we was getting a necklace or something, and the lady, had told her, I charge you this and no tax, yada yada. We get up to the register, the lady like charged her $2 extra for tax, right? Like from $30 to $32, and she goes nuts, right? And I'm like, man, who is this? Hey, girl, I know. Where did that come from? you know, right? You know, and we still joke about it today. You know, like hey, I'll give you $2. Like, I'll pay for it. Like it ain't that. You know,
right.
you ain't got to be all the you know. But then later we talked about kind of where it all comes from. You know, and we worked through that. But like you said, like up front, like man, who is that? You know, where did she come from? Take her back, please.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, hey, come on, it's all right. You know,
It's gonna be okay.
Yeah, it ain't that big. I got you. Let's go. I'll pay for the 2. Like, girl, you know what? I got it all 32.
Yes.
You know. But the third one, what do you guys have on that one?
We say communication, and communication produces the love. We just,
being able to talk and listen to each other, letting her talk, and she's letting me talk without trying to come back with an answer, but really sitting there, listening attentively, letting her get her thoughts out where she can feel comfortable to talk. I guess vice versa for her.
Yeah, like I think, well, I ain't gonna say I think I know because we've learned this and we've grown through this, but communication does produce love, because the key thing is that each person has the opportunity to self-express. And oftentimes, to be able to self-express, you have to be in a safe place. Like, people are not going to give you their heart. They're not going to give you the words out of their heart unless they feel safe. And so I believe in communicating. Communicating creates that safe place, because you get to say, well, when you did that, I didn't feel love. I know you love me, but I didn't feel the expression of your love when you did that. And so oftentimes we'll suffer in silence, and we won't tell each other how each other's behavior impacts us. And then the other person doesn't know how to give you the space to work through your own emotions of that thing that impacted you. And so when communication comes in play, you get to, one, take yourself out of the space because it's not about you. And then you get to create the space for that person to be genuinely, authentically who they are. And communication creates that in a relationship.
I like that. You said, it's not about you. I think when you do things with unselfish motives, I think you get those far back in return. When you, like you said, when you communicate and saying, I guess it's seeking for, not to be understood, but seeking for understanding.
Yes.
If you will, like I'm just trying to understand. Like, I'm not perfect.
Right.
I don't know all the answers, but I'm just trying to understand, and we can work through it together. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And we got two people that, like, if I say red, she says blue. So we're very different.
Yeah.
So you got to be able to not just think your way is the best way, but which way that we can come together to make it work out, where we can come into agreement.
But I'm gonna hit you with this, Jason. Like, that's where the beauty and that's where the fun comes. Because like, like, you're different. Just like I said, like that girl went nuts. And I'm like, I am not that guy. Like, hey, so you got to find the balance in there. And so, like, I think it's awesome, and it makes for a fun ride too.
It does. I think one of the things I tell married couples when I'm coaching is that when you get to the place where there's no competition, there's completion, then you are at a place of, like, true alignment with each other. Because when you really understand that, right, I'm supposed to be red and he's supposed to be blue, because in my blind spot he can see, and in his blind spot I can see. And that's what we're here for. Like, I literally have them turn back to back, put their backs to each other. And so what I can't see behind me, he can see. And what you can't see behind you, she can see. And that's complementing one another, but and covering each other. But when you are in a place of competition, you're now trying to look face forward when he's trying to face forward, and nobody got each other back. And so that's what we've learned in differences. Like that's why God made opposites attract, so that my strength and my weakness will be covered, and your strength and your weakness will be covered. But until you come into that alignment, you're always going to come again. You're going to be comparing each other's strengths to each other instead of not even like one of the things that me and him do is we take right and wrong out of our marriage relationship. Like there's no right and wrong. Because when I'm in right, I'm trying to make you wrong. Mm-hmm. And so when we take right and wrong out, we can hear each other. We can hear each other's heart because I can hear your communication from your experiences, from how you feel, from the way you see, from your filter. And I'm not making it mean anything. I'm just being with it.
Hold on, Nikki. I'm gonna go church on you. Woo! You know, I had to pull the pocket square out and fan you and throw it at you. I had to go church on you on that one, man. That's good stuff right there.
Yeah.
Well, advice for couples. You know, if you guys would have any advice for, because I know you gave a rundown of the things that it takes to have a successful relationship. But, you know, if you had a couple just walking by you just want to say, hey, make sure y'all do this. You know, just a couple of things as far as advice. What do you guys have for that?
So we have 5 things.
What you got?
So the first thing we wrote down is don't try to change each other.
Yeah.
Don't try to fix the person to be who you want them to be, like a robot or something. They have to be free to be who they are. Sometimes in our mind, we want to create something like I want to dress this way. I want to act this certain type of way. But that's not being in a relationship where a person can be free. So just letting the person be their authentic self, loving them for who they are. That's one.
Mm-hmm. Number 2 is learn to enjoy each other every day. Mm-hmm. You only have one day at a time. Leave the past in the past. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing me and him do. We don't wake up the next day and bring up the previous conversation. And if we do, we make sure we talk it out until we're complete. Right. Until there's nothing else in that conversation that needs to be discussed.
That's when later down the road, you're having a conversation. You ain't bringing up stuff that happened 5 months ago that already supposed to have been dealt with. Don't bring the old stuff into new. So try to get rid of, you have a discussion or disagreement, try to finish that in that day and move forward.
The next day so you can enjoy each other.
I'm gonna hit you with this one. There's a couple that lives by me, neighbors, and the husband is a pastor and he does, you know, marriage and counseling and everything. And he and his wife, they do, and she has a thing, and I really like this, and I wanted to make sure I share it with you guys on those same lines. You know, her advice is, you know, give the negative to God and give your spouse the positive.
Yeah,
yes, that's
good.
Good.
That's good.
I heard that. I almost threw the pocket square at her. Man, I was like, that is good.
Yes,
you know?
That is good.
Yeah,
that is good.
And so true. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. So the third.
Yeah, that was good. We like that. Yeah. The third one we said is don't take each other for granted. Celebrate. Mm-hmm.
Love that.
And then the fourth one was pray for each other and with each other. And that prevents separation.
Right.
Like when you're praying for one another, it keeps the intimacy.
And praying together too. I mean, praying together definitely helps out because now you're going to your God and you're putting them in the center of your relationship, and both of y'all are going the same way. And you can hear your request that you're sending out to God, and your spouse is hearing that you got her covered. Like, so God come into this relationship, and whatever we falling short, just pick up the slack. So just praying for each other, but then praying with each other.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we really, really put into action. Because like even when we go to sleep, you know how sometimes you have a disagreement, you talked it out, but your emotions ain't aligned yet. You know, your emotions still
caught up with you yet. They ain't caught up.
So we get up in the morning, he kisses me before he leave out, and when I hit the car, I'm calling him so we can pray together. And so that's because you got to put practices in place in your marriage to keep it healthy. And that's one of the practices that we have in place, that every day,
every
we
morning,
pray
you
for
pray.
each other.
Right.
And then the last one we put was listen to each other.
I like it. I like it. And I'm still writing that. So give me a
That's
second. Gotta make sure I get that one down. That's a good one. Well, I'm gonna tell you guys this. Both of you individually are super blessed to have each other.
Thank you.
Right, right.
And then as a family, as a couple, you guys are blessed and your families are blessed to have you as the model.
Yeah.
You know, and so I just want to say thank you guys so much for taking the time to open up and share, you know, your experiences and your relationship. And I think it's amazing stuff. You know, I think it's a beautiful thing when you got two people that come together and just, I don't know, man, make beauty. You know, like just it's awesome, man. It's good stuff. And if you don't mind, if you guys would like to share, you know, where they can go follow you guys and support you guys with what you guys have going on. Support your
sure,
book,
sure.
you know.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Like, go check out the book.
Yes, I actually did. I have it. Where did I put the book? Oh, well, I had it here to show it, but the book is called Overcoming Identity Crisis.
Okay.
And you can go to Amazon and just put in Nikki Pinkney and it will pop up. But the book is written from a place like, you know, typically when you read books about people, you kind of like read from a memoir perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But when the Holy Spirit had me write the book, he didn't have me write it out like literally telling you every step of the way about my life. What he wanted to do is he told me to write the book for healing. And so he pulled out detrimental moments in my life where he healed my identity. And in that, when the reader reads the book, they're going to see themselves, because he said he wants me to write it so that it can be a mirror for the reader. And so when the reader read it, they'll read areas of them, they'll see moments of themselves where they're living in performance, or where they're not truly authentic, or where they learned a way of being that's really not them. And so, and then the next part is like a journal. So they get to actually do the internal work. And then I have some coaching points in the journal to be able to coach them along. And so that's how that book is written, like really overcoming identity crisis. And identity crisis could just be that your parent wanted you to be a doctor and you really wanted to be a minister. You know what I'm saying? And so really coming into the true, authentic you that God created you to be.
Yeah.
And so that's the whole, you know, that's what the book is about. And then our business, Ezekiel Family Services, is our life coaching business. Both of us are certified life coaches. I have my master's degree in marriage family therapy. And then I also have a certification in spiritual therapy. And spiritual therapy is more so, it's the therapy discipline, but it's from a biblical perspective. And so it takes the therapy practices, and you know how we have a cultural laws, regulations that we typically been to, because that's the way that we've been taught to live. Well, what I do is I challenge my client to look at that and put it up against the word of God and the way that the kingdom lives, and see what outcome they want. Do they want this cultural outcome, or do they want the kingdom of God's outcome? And so we kind of go through that process of really learning how to align their thinking process in their life to develop the outcome of the kingdom, so that they can get the promises that they see God have given them in their hearts and in their imaginations. Because oftentimes, you know, we want these outcomes that we see in our hearts, but we're on the wrong frequency. We're trying to produce from the way the world and the culture tells us to do something. We're trying to reduce a godly outcome that way, but we're not using the godly principles to do it.
Yeah,
and
you want FM, but you want AM.
That's what I'm saying. And so it's just, that's, you know, kind of how we coach with the spiritual therapy. It's just a divine alignment. And so That's Ezekiel Family Services.
Get in touch with them.
And then they can get in touch with Ezekiel. We have a Facebook page, Ezekiel Family Services. We have our website, EzekielFamilyServices.com. Then we have our email, Ezekiel Services, EzekielFamilyServices@gmail.com. And then our phone number is 240-244-0285. And then my husband has his business too. He has
Splice It Electric. It's an electric company. So if you need any electrical needs met, I mean, we can take care of all of that, from heavy up recessed lights to the ceiling fans and stuff like that. So you can reach me on my email. It's JAY.
No, it's not. It's Splice It. If I tell you something, it's all email. It's spliceit.electrical@gmail.com. And then his number is 240-356-8900.
Well, guys, I thank y'all again so much for taking the time to interview with the Chronicles. Good time, and everybody that watches this for sure will be better because of your experiences.
Thank you for having us on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys for checking out this episode. We'll see you next time.
Okay.
God bless
you.
Thank you.
Go get it.